D, Billy D, what you doing? Swearing at the Aussies. Alright, this is your Weekly Buzz, and this is Billy D. And I have, as usual, a very special guest. And the way I'd like to build him up is that when I first went to your wellness program, I'm sure you remember, is that's what gave me the initial drive to start CalJam. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, I think you said that.
Yeah, I said that a few times.
Come on, dude, get some.
No, I didn't say that.
Get some new material, man.
Did I say that last time?
I think so.
Okay, so we had a full day today, so I'm a little saturated. My brain's a little saturated, overly saturated. But I think
mine's drained.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm tired.
You did a good job today. You did a great job. And it's like, I mean, sometimes people think I'm the wingnut that I am, but there's also a scientific side to me that loves to continually learn and support everything that we do in chiropractic, even some of the stuff that you did today, the supporting just how we can affect psychology and emotions and all that stuff. It's just unbelievable. And sometimes we're going to get a little resistance from people that want to hold on to old tenets. And I just think when we can explain it rationally with some research that supports everything that we've been doing for 120 plus years or whatever it is now, 118, it just makes more sense than keep just randomly going through the same road that we've been going through.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day we have to decide, are we loyal to chiropractic or are we loyal to chiropractic patients? And my point is that you can't put a blinder on and demand no change in the way that we look at things, or the way we explain ourselves, or the models that we use to explain how we benefit people, or you can't ignore new science. There are some things that are certainly not going to change, which is our paradigm and the fact that there are some certain things that we recognize that are unchangeable, like the body is a self-healing ecosystem, that the brain and the nervous system is the master system in terms of recognizing environmental demand and adapting our physiology to best meet that. The fact that we need to address the cause instead of treat the effect, all those things are unchangeable, but how we fit into those things and the evidence that we have for our clinical results and how we should use science to guide our clinical results and our clinical outcome measures, those things cannot be set in stone. They have to change with the science, and they have to change with new information.
And why do you think people are resistant to accepting that?
I think that, is this being filmed?
Go ahead.
Well, I think a lot of the truth of it is that I think some people in chiropractic have been so dogmatic about a belief system which they had never been able to support, that changing that belief system is extra difficult because it was never backed by anything logical anyway. And so when someone has moved into a position that's been that wasn't based on logic, if someone has moved entered into a state of belief based on dogma, it's almost impossible to remove that person from that state of belief with science and logic.
Right. It would be like religion, if you said...
Very similar.
Yeah. So, as far as your program's concerned, you break it up into 4 modules. Today we went over the neurology.
Yeah, the science, the evidence about chiropractic. The science and evidence of chiropractic. How can we make chiropractic an evidence-based profession while maintaining its philosophy and paradigm? Because I don't think the two are mutually exclusive.
Right.
And many people do, but they're wrong.
Right. And I really liked how you brought in the fact that, we want to get you better, but we want to keep you better.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to just merely get some pain relief and then release them.
Yeah, or whatever. Even if we completely restored their function and it wasn't about symptoms at all, but once the only relevant question is regular chiropractic care required to maintain a healthy spine? And if you look at what a spine goes through in the industrial world, sitting for on average now 32 years of our life. Nice memory, Billy.
Yeah.
If we look at the posture that we maintain, if we look at how little we move our spines now compared to what we're genetically required to do and what our species is supposed to do, then I think it becomes almost obvious or self-evident that yes, you're going to require some form of passive analysis and care for as long as you're on the planet.
Right. Just like brushing and flossing.
Brushing and flossing.
And eating healthy.
And eating healthy.
And exercising.
And exercising.
And thinking positive thoughts.
And maintaining healthy relationships.
Right, right.
Like ours.
Yep. The next module is on nutrition, which is one of the things that really gets me backed into corner, especially, you think that everybody loves me, they don't.
Come on.
You
have to. Right?
No. The hate straights obviously don't think nutrition is a big issue. And to me, I mean, I've even before I was in chiropractic
Dude, if you're a hater, you're not thinking, period. And number two, do they eat?
Of course everybody eats.
What do they eat?
I don't know.
How do they decide what to eat?
I don't know. I try to eat congruent to the way I think God designed us to eat. So I eat mostly fish.
How did you figure out what God designed you to eat?
I kind of did some paleo study on paleo and Paleolithic ancestry.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah, I get you.
Right. I mean, you just study what our ancestors ate, right?
Yeah, my view of it is, listen, in order to figure out what any species should eat, I mean, the idea is, could we figure out what we should feed a giraffe? Yeah, how? We'll look at what the healthy giraffes ate in the wild.
Right.
And so the idea that we couldn't figure out what humans should eat is asinine. Of course we can figure out what humans can eat, but we have to ask the right question. The question is, based on the human genome, what is required in terms of nutrition in order to express our potential for health? Simple question. That's the same question we'd ask in biology for any species. So, yeah, and if we can understand what things are required, because what's required by any species is determined by their genome.
Right.
So what makes you and I healthy as humans could make a panda bear sick and vice versa.
Sure.
But you can figure out the basic tenets of what any species should be eating.
Mm-hmm. Now, in your travels around the world, especially the United States, one of the things you kind of mentioned that you notice that there's definitely some serious issues with health in the United States and serious issues within certain geographic regions. What would you attribute that to, other than education? Health education.
Well, I mean, the same thing I'd attribute any state of health to. It's their habits. So
I'm asking why would certain areas, like I travel a lot too, and I'll go to certain areas and I'll notice that the state of people's health is way worse in some areas I go to than other areas.
Yeah, are you going to quit? Do you think there's a socioeconomic kind of...
Yeah, I think that might be it.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, cheaper food is generally worse for you.
Of course.
More packaged, more processed.
But vegetables aren't really that expensive.
Well, I know, but I mean, it's hard to get with the stuff you juiced for us today, that was probably $10.
Yeah, fed 4 people.
Yeah, I know, but you can go to McDonald's and get it probably cheaper because, you know what I mean? Like,
I could have fed you guys for $5 at McDonald's.
Yeah, there's some time involved, and so I think that also, I mean, I can explain why. I mean, I know that there's socioeconomic and there's some regional differences. Everyone wants to talk about Mississippi, Missouri, and what's the other one? Louisiana, maybe they're top 3 states in obesity or whatever it is. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, yeah, they might be the top 3, but there's no state that doesn't suffer from a huge amount of obesity and diabetes and cancer and heart disease. So although there are some trends, the fact of the matter is the overall trend is that the entire culture and the entire citizenry is really, really sick.
So maybe what I'm trying to drive at here is, I personally feel, and I know you feel the same way, that it would be ludicrous to take care of a person's health and allow them to have a hideous pro-inflammatory diet, which is not only destructive and causes their pain, but ultimately shortens their lifespan. I mean, why do people get in?
But if you say you're taking care of someone's health,
right?
Then if you're taking care of someone's health, that means you're taking care of the things that are, I mean, if you want to say that you're involved in getting sick people well, then obviously you have to ask some important questions, which is what is required for a sick person to be well.
Right.
And so I would imagine that would be within your scope of practice. If your outcome goal is to get sick people well, then obviously you're going to do everything possible within your scope of practice and within your knowledge base to get those sick people well.
And like
As long as you're fairly compensated for it.
sure,
And as long as you got some evidence that what you're suggesting and recommending works, and as long as you got some kind of outcome measure to determine that it is having eliciting positive outcomes for the patients, then why would you ever withhold something that could help a human being? I don't get it.
and you said it today. You said that B.J. Palmer obviously didn't have to deal with the toxic environment that humans live in today.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the ecosystems, the human ecosystems that are walking through our doors now, are vastly different in terms of their stress load or allostatic load, as we talked about today. They're vastly different than the ones that there were 80 years ago. I mean, as I said, they probably walked to the office. They probably were snacking on a carrot they grew in their backyard. They weren't
watching as much TV.
They weren't watching much TV. They weren't breathing as many toxins in the air, depending on where they lived, I suppose, at that time.
They probably weren't getting as many vaccines either. That's one of my big pet peeves.
I know that's one of your biggies. Yeah, and I'm suggesting that we know for sure they weren't.
Right.
Brisbane. Down in
Brisbane.
Brizzy.
Brizzy.
They can say Brizzy. He's drinking wine, tequila too. He's doing shooters, and then he puked.
How did you go?
Okay, Bailey D. Shocked the world with his F-bombs.
In old Brizzy at DG.
Oh, nice one.